Hello, welcome to Salty Church Online. My name's Caleb.
And my name's Brent, and we are so glad that you're here. Let's join together and sing worship out to our God.
Let's do it.
Well, welcome to Salty Church. We're so glad you joined us today. If you're in person or online, would you guys stand? Go ahead and say hey, maybe give a handshake or a high five to the person next to you. We're going to sing, go to worship together. Here we go. Come on, let's sing this together. Let's pray. Praise be a weapon that silences the enemy. Come on. Let praise be a weapon that conquers all anxiety. Let it rise. Let praise arise. Let it rise in this place. We sing your name in the dark and it changes everything. Yes, it does. We sing with all we are and we claim your victory. Let it rise. Let praise arise. Here we go. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifting high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, sing we praise you. Let your faith arise today. Let faith be the song that overcomes the raging sea. Let faith be the song that calms the storm inside of me. Let it rise. Let faith arise. Let it rise. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifting high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, say, we praise you. Oh, sing this in faith. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we pray. Here we go. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we pray. We'll see you break down every wall. Lift your voice. Giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise Him. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifting high. With all creation cry. We're gonna sing your praise. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lifting high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Lord, lift up a shout today. Amen. Well, if you're first time here, we just want to especially welcome you, invite you to sing and lift up the name of Jesus with us. Come on. Now the darkness fades into new beginnings as grateful that we can sing today. Come on, let's sing about what he's done. He shall reign. And he shall reign forever. Strongholds now surrendered for the Lord. Our God is overcome. And who can be against us? Jesus, our defender, he is Lord. And he has overcome. He shall reign forever. Strongholds now surrendered for the Lord. Our God is overcome. Can be against us? Jesus is our defender. He is Lord, and he has overcome. We will not be moved when the earth gives way. For the risen one is overcome. Yes, he has. And for every fear, there's an empty grave. Come on. For the risen one is overcome. We will not be moved when the earth gives way. For the risen one is overcome. And for every fear, there's an empty grave. For the risen one is overcome. You have overcome. And we're thankful, Lord. Come on, if you're thankful, can you lift up a shout today? God, we lift you up in this moment. We turn our attention toward you, Jesus.
Let the King of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good. You're good. Oh, 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 let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. And let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good.
You're never gonna let me down. 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 Sing this in confidence. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. Say, you're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down.
'Cause you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're
You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down.
you're good.
You are good.
You're good.
You are good.
You're good.
Oh, you are good. You're good.
Well, thank you so much for singing with us. We're going to take a minute to prepare for our sermon series. We're starting a new series called Summer Stories, and
But first, we do want to take a moment and recognize that this is Memorial Day weekend. You probably have a barbecue going on this afternoon. There's a lot of celebration going on. There are a lot of great things that are happening. But the reason why we celebrate Memorial Day weekend every year is this is a reminder. It's a reminder about sacrifice. It's a reminder about what it costs for us to have freedom. One of the freedoms that we're using right now, the freedom of religion, to be able to worship Jesus freely and know that that can't be encroached upon. And this weekend is a lot about sacrifice. And I hope that, as you go through this weekend, you can be encouraged and reminded of the sacrifice that Jesus made on your behalf. 2,000 years ago, he was crucified, he was buried, and he rose again to defeat sin and death, to give us an opportunity to have a relationship with him and have a hope and a future that is secure in Jesus Christ.
And as we go into our connection time, we'd love for you to visit us at our website, salty.org, where you can fill out a connection card or submit a prayer request or partner with us in our giving. And for those of you who have already taken that step, thank you so much. Nothing that we do at this campus or any of our campuses cannot be done unless you guys do what you do. So thank you.
And we're back. Welcome, everybody. Glad that you are here and joined us. And hey, my name is Robbie. For those of you who maybe haven't been here before or you're watching, you're brand new. If everybody's watching online, the folks in New Smyrna and Flagler, all the people here in Ormond, welcome. And I am real excited today as we kick off a 7-week series because, you know, summer's here. Right? It's like the official beginning of summer. And so 7 weeks of summer stories. And totally different than what we might normally do over the next several weeks. In fact, different in that there's going to be somebody new, somebody different all 7 weeks presenting. And each of those weeks, we're going to be highlighting really cool stories. And we get to do that starting with today. And joining me, obviously I'm not alone on stage here, is Jeff and Francis Chason. And we are not telling their story. In fact, no, what they're doing is they're here to help tell a story, actually. So Jeff and Francis are the champions, the heart and soul of Salty Family Services. It's one of the key, most powerful ministries that we have. In fact, I'd say maybe one of the more effective ministries anywhere. Just really making a big difference. We want to be able to talk about that and share some of the stories of what happens related to Salty Family Services. So I'm really excited to kick off the series with that. And so just to get started here, let's give a broad overview maybe of what are we talking about for those of you who maybe have no idea. And so just broadly speaking, Jeff, why don't you start and just tell us a little bit about what is Salty Family Services and what is this about, as if nobody knows. Kind of give us an update.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's good to see everybody here today. Salty Family Services is a ministry that actually resides within the rescue station. Our rescue station is just across the way from the church. And what we want to encourage is the community to reach out to us whenever there's a life struggle, someone's going through a life struggle. Those struggles often are financial, but they're not exclusively financial. They can also be emotional and spiritual struggles. So we field all those calls, and what we specifically want to do is we want to connect with families that have minor children in their custody, because we want to connect with those families long term to work towards stabilizing their family, their situation, so that they can have independence and ultimately empowerment.
Yeah, so it's rescue. And, you know, the needs of the world and the needs of the world around us are nearly infinite. There's so much that that people need in life. But what we've done is been able to really just begin to focus. We have limited resources. How do we maximize the time, talent, resources that we have? And really focusing on families is a big part of what we do. It's not all, but it's a big part of that. And just that idea of rescue. I mean, our church mission statement is rescue and empower disciples. And a key part of that is rescue, which is why we have now, over the last couple of years, let me see if I get a picture up there, maybe. And my pictures aren't working for me like I want them to. So we got a picture of a rescue station somewhere. And when we get there, we go. Thank you for the help on my tech team. So this is our office, actually, where the Salty Church has their offices. It's 160 East Granada, right over there. You've probably seen it, I'm sure. A building built in 1936, the first fire station in Ormond Beach. We had an opportunity to buy that, and I was really reluctant as somebody like, hey, you should buy that. I'm like, I don't know, But after the third time being presented, I was like, I don't need office space, but rescue, that is something. And so we have our offices there, but it's really the heart of Salty Family Services and where we operate. And so you can see on the sign, it says Rescue Station. And it is now being known for a place, and we really wanted that to be the case, where people know that's the place to call when you need help. And so that is happening regularly, almost hourly. And Francis is in the middle of all of that. So Francis, why don't you tell us a little bit about, what's a day in the life of the Salty Family Services at the rescue station, and would give people a sense of what happened in there?
Yeah, my name is Frances, and I get to lead a team of volunteers that really run the rescue stations. Every day, our volunteers receive an average of 300 to 400 calls a month, and we process about 130 applications per month. And our volunteers are key to speaking to everybody that calls in and that walks into our rescue station. They offer their ears. They want to listen to their circumstances, be there for them, offer a word of hope and prayer. From all those applications that we receive, some people, that are individuals or families without minor children, most of them, we refer them to resources in the community that are best equipped to help in their circumstances. Families with minor children, which is what Southie Family Services focus on, we try to help them in bringing them into our program, into our mentoring program. That's when one of our mentors walks with each of the families for about 3 months through all their circumstances, establishing goals, and Jeff will talk a little bit more about how that looks like. Over the 6 years that we've been operating at the rescue station, we've rescued about 1,300 families and kept about 2,000 children out of the foster care system.
That's a big deal. Yeah, it's remarkable. So like the mentoring is, if we have mentors that get matched up with a family, that mentor meets with that family once a week for 3 months. Huge, big deal as lives are being really rescued in so many different ways. Last year, averaged taking on one new family per day for the year. 365 families were brought into the mentoring program last year, and that continues on to this year. It's just remarkable and amazing, and we get to be a part of that. And all of this was really given birth for me, out of just a key question that came up somewhere. I don't even know where it came from, but somebody asked one time, said, if your church were to disappear tomorrow, would anybody know or care? And a lot of times churches are so inwardly focused that they just become irrelevant to the community. But for us, getting 300 or 400 calls a month, people are needing help and needing rescue. A little minor point here, Francis. It's true that people call when they need help, but while we do rescue, we don't do 911 stuff. And that might be an important part. So
Right.
that kind of happens sometimes, doesn't it?
It does. We are not an emergency rescue facility. However, we do field those calls, and our volunteers, our team is trained, and we are always there supporting them too, into just walking through people, bringing them a sense of peace, and trying to guide them to the best resource.
Yeah.
Because we are not always the best resource in the community, but we do know, and we do partner with other people that we can send them to the best resource
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah, so we're happy to take the calls. But when somebody needs something right now, that's not necessarily what we're geared to do. And also, when somebody needs something, of course, the needs are infinite, right? Again, we want to put them in contact with somebody in the community who's able to meet those needs, and often it's not us. But again, specializing in families with minor children, that's really the heart and soul of this, and it's really remarkable. And then just to take a minute and just give the biblical perspective in it, we're reminded of what Jesus said in Matthew 25. He said that, he talking about in the end and how God looks at us and all of that. There's this conversation between him and disciples and talking about the least of these. And the disciples are like, when did we ever see you, Jesus, hungry and feed you? When did we see you thirsty and give you something to eat or something to drink? We didn't see you as a stranger. We didn't, show you hospitality. When did we see you naked and eat clothing? When did we ever see you rich, sick or in prison and to visit? Like, we've never seen you like that. And then Jesus really makes this big point, in this parable of sorts. He says, I'll tell you the truth. Whenever you did it to one of the least of these brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me. And that's just really the heart of rescue that God has to helping people. And oftentimes helping people will never be able to give back. It's just because we need to be the kind of people who care about those who are lost and are hurting. And so we have this scripture that really pushes us to help whoever we can, whenever we can. We just struck with that because it was an hour ago, we get a call, somebody needed some pants. And I'm not kidding. Literally an hour ago, somebody's at the doorbell, I need some pants right now. And so you hear the scripture and you're like, oh no, it's like we need to do something, right? Well, yeah, we need to be able to do something, and we do whenever we can. But also one of the key things that motivates us and how do we, again, our resources are not infinite. You can't help everybody all the time. So how do we maximize that? And for us, it's empowerment. Again, as a church, rescue and empower disciples. And so some people just want a handout and they want it now, and they feel like as a church we got to bend to their needs all of the time. We just can't. But we get real motivated when people want not just a handout, but to hand up, to be lifted up, and to be empowered. You know, another key scripture was John 5, where it's a story of Jesus and a story of healing, where Jesus is there and he's in this at the sheepgoat in the pool of Bethesda. You know, there are these porches there, and there's these people and crowds of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, and you know they're laying on these porches. They had this idea that when these pools would bubble up, this superstition, you might say, they could get in the water and there would be healing. Well, one day there was this guy, and he was laying there, and he'd been there for 38 years. And Jesus saw him there and knew he'd been there for a long time. He said, "Would you like to get well?" Which almost might seem insulting at the first glance, right? It's like, what do you mean? I've been out of sorts for 38 years. Like, what do you mean, do I want to get well? It's a very simple question, but the thing is, come to find out in all of the things that we're doing and being a part of with Rescue is sometimes people don't want to get better. They're quite apt to stay in the situation that they're in. Sometimes they don't want to be engaged in their own healing and their own health. Just help get me by for the day. It was like, no, we want to help. We want to help empower you such that you don't need any more help. And sometimes people aren't up for that. You know, Jesus asked this guy, he's like, you know, do you want to get well? And the guy's like, I can't. And sometimes people just can't do more. So they need help of like to do beyond what they're capable of in the moment. And Jesus is talking to this guy. He's like, I can't do it. I got nobody to help me get in the pool of water. You know, somebody's always getting there ahead of me, and I am helpless, you might say. But the thing is, with Jesus, and all things are possible, right? And so Jesus like, skip the water and the pool and all that stuff. Just stand up, pick yourself up, and walk. Which again, that could be insulting. Like, what do you mean? I like get up and walk. I can't do that. It's like, I know you can't. But I'll help you. Do you want to get well? And when somebody wants to, then they get connected with power in a way that is just remarkable. So Jeff, maybe you take a minute and like talk about empowerment. What does that mean as it relates to some of what we're doing?
Sure. Well, first of all, this scripture, John chapter 5, was just impactful for me personally when I first heard it, because I always think of, you've been there 38 years, like you've built a network of enablement. You know, you've been able to, like, someone's bringing you something to eat, someone's probably helping you to go to some kind of bathroom or something, you know. But that question, as simple it is, do you want to get well, has huge implications, because your world's going to change. And that's, you know, as you said, a lot of people that are calling in really aren't looking to get well. They're looking to get their situation, their situation that's in front of them.
A temporary need.
Yes, absolutely resolved. And what we're looking to do is try to invest in families that are looking long-term or willing to look long-term. They might have never thought about looking long-term or past today, but if they're motivated and are willing to be invested in, and they're willing to invest their time and their energy with a mentor, well, what we're going to do is we're going to connect that family to a mentor, and we're going to be meeting with them every week. We go to them. We go to the homes. We go to shelters. We go to hotels if they're homeless. And we spend the first 4 or 5 weeks just building relationships with them. Just not trying to fix the situation, not trying to dictate the situation, and we know what's best, but really try to understand them and how did they get here. And what we're trying to do is build a level of trust with the family. So this family trusts us as we continue and wanted to walk through life with them. We do provide a financial minimal money to their situation, but ultimately, if they want to invest in themselves, that mentor is going to be meeting with them weekly, encouraging them, praying for them, connecting them to different opportunities, And then ultimately creating goals, not that the mentor feels is best for them, but what the mentor and the family agree together, like, yeah, that's where I want to go towards. I want to work towards a better job. I want to get out of this hotel and into a home. And so we'll do a financial budget with them to start giving us a game plan and working towards wellness. And ultimately, in time, what we've seen is that, or what we believe, is that through relationship, adding accountability, there's transformation. And the transformation is that empowering steps forward in life. So what they're ultimately going to be able to do when we're gone is mitigate the issues that potentially could bring more trauma to a child. And that could be homelessness or separation in a relationship, or worst case scenario, having Department of Children and Families come in and potentially disrupt the whole family. We want to keep the family intact and stable so they can be independent and empowered.
Yeah, big deal. And so that gives you a broad sense of kind of what we're doing and how that's being done over the last several years. But let's make it a little more real, a little more tangible. For instance, we get calls and, 300 and 400 calls a month. It's a lot. A lot of volunteers are answering the phone. This ministry has a big impact on the people that we're helping, but it also has a big impact on those who are providing the care, even the volunteers. So maybe from that perspective, let's tell a couple of stories. Calls are coming in. What impact is there on the ministry and the people that are providing care, and how to give us a sense of some story out of that?
Yeah, I said that I get the privilege to be with a team of volunteers, and we're engaged every day with people, and I'm engaged with our volunteers as well. And one of the things that I have heard multiple times from different volunteers is how being able to pray for people over the phone has a profound impact in them. Not just because they see the immediate impact of prayer in that moment when they are with that person over the phone, but some of them have expressed how that has actually just deepened their relationships, their personal relationship with the Lord, just seeing and experiencing prayer in that way. Another very impactful thing that volunteers have expressed is how the experience of working at the rescue station has been somewhat humbling to them. I have one of the volunteers share that she typically loves to just fix things, and she just likes to find solutions to everything. But being at the rescue station, she feels humbled by the fact that she can't fix everything, and she can't find solutions for every circumstance. So she has learned to find peace in laying those circumstances at the feet of Jesus in prayer, and through that really experiencing her own transformation.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to know that as we are reaching out and trying to make a difference in the community, one of the big impacts that we're having is on the people providing the care, not just the mentors, but all the volunteers that are answering the calls and calling people back. There's so much to this operation you can't even imagine unless you've seen it. But then from the calls, and we matched people up, and we're able to either refer them to somebody in the community or we take them on as a mentoring family. Then we have 2 full-time mentors who are able to be engaged with each family. Jeff, talk about some very real stories about how this has actually worked out well, and just give us an example.
Yeah, sure. I got two situations I think of that are just incredibly impactful for these families. One that's still ongoing right now. We met this single mom she was living in a home, but she was experienced a domestic violence relationship. And when we came out to the home, the mentor came to visit the first time, the boyfriend had been removed out of the home, and there was an injunction in place. And so that mentor, that first visit, is just getting to know the mom and understanding her struggles, and again, not trying to fix anything. Well, when we left, the mom called that mentor about an hour later and said the boyfriend had called and said, "So who's your church friend that came to visit you?" We came to find out that he had a listening device in the house and was recording everything, and that just changed everything for us. So okay, we got to try to do the best we can to try to get her even out of this home. So We have what we call Call Me When volunteers that we're blessed to have, and they have an array of willingness, time, talent, treasure that they donate to the ministry to be able to help families when we have a need that we're working with. So we called this one gentleman, he has a detached mother-in-law home. And we were able to put her into that home for 5 weeks rent-free, just so she can, just feel safe for one, first and foremost. And that mentor was then trying to network long-term living opportunities. Mom's working, and we did a budget. We knew what she could afford on her own. And you understand, renting is very hard these days, trying to find affordable rentals. And another Call Me When volunteer is a real estate agent. So she sends us listings of rentals. And we found a needle in a haystack. It was a safe community in Holly Hill that mom could afford. So we're just like, great, let's jump on it. Well, we don't have endless money to put towards a situation. So again, we have Call Me When volunteers that says, I have the gift of giving. So we had 3 different volunteers we called the 3 different volunteers, and we got mom's first month security and last month be able to move her in. And she's gonna be moving in next week.
Yeah.
Yes, and so.
Really cool deal. And the investment that we give is often earned by the people who are helping her, wanting not just to get out of a momentary issue, but they're wanting full independence and full health. And as they invest in themselves, we're able to best help them.
Absolutely. Now that mentor can start working long term with that mom of going, okay, I'm out of this situation, and let me work towards stability for my child and myself.
Yeah. You got another one?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a little bit of an older one. It's become one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
So we started working with a single mom, I think it was about 2 years ago. And when we first met her, my goodness, it's one of those situations I'm like, I have no idea what we're going to do here. Like, honestly, I've been doing this for a long time, and there's still plenty of times I'm like, I have no idea. And she was living in a hotel. She did not have a job. She had multiple felonies from past life of drug use. And also, too, she, at age 13, had been subjected to the sex trafficking culture. She had been about 2-3 years out of that. And so she was motivated.
Let me back up. Do I remember right that they were shopping her out and using her so they could make their rent?
Yes.
As a 13, 14-year-old girl?
Yes.
Okay.
So just real incredible trauma. And, she was just motivated. She wanted a better life, not only for her, but her child. And it was a young little girl that she had. And mom found a low-paying job on her own. So she started getting money coming in, and we were able to network through organizations, partnerships in the community to be able to move her into a place. And but we knew that we had to get her income up. That was a definite. And so we were just trying to network for her and going through job applications.
Was she making minimum wage at the time,
Yes,
kind of thing?
she was.
Okay.
But she had a heart, too, and a desire to rescue other people. She had a desire to give back. And our mentor was meeting with her one day, and she's like, I found this job listing, but I don't think I'm going to be accepted because of my background. And, it was discouraging to her. And it was working at a domestic violence shelter. And so she wanted to be able to work with a population that she was once a part of. And so what we did was just said, hey, well, let's just make a phone call. We have a relationship with that organization, and we contacted the CEO and said, hey, can you just give her an interview, give her a shot? And so they put her ahead of everybody else, and we said, yeah, bring her in. We'll just at least interview her. Well, she got that job. So she got that job, and she started working with women, and just incredibly encouraged and really invested into the job.
Well, she moved out of a hotel, I'm assuming.
Yes,
Gets her own place.
Gets her own place.
Now
and
fully
we're
able
about
to take care of her daughter.
About a year and a half later,
When?
just 2-3 weeks ago, I get a phone call, and it's Stephanie. And I was just like, Stephanie, what's going on? And she's like, hey, I just wanted to call and celebrate. you know, I got this, I applied for a job, and it's an organization that's, I guess, in Jacksonville, and they're trying to implement their program down here in Volusia County, working with sex-trafficked women. So she's like, I put my job, put an application in, and I got hired. And so she's like, I'm on salary now, and I have full benefits. And she's like, I don't even have to leave Daytona, and I don't have to change my child's school, which is a huge thing. And she said something that just really impacted me, which she said, you know, Jesus took my mess and turned it into a message of hope for others. And we're just been blessed to be a part of that.
It's a big deal. And yeah, and go ahead. That's worth cheering for sure. Yeah, it's stories of rescue. Who doesn't love that, right? And for us as a church to be able to be a beacon of light and hope and rescue for those who maybe sometimes have nowhere else to go, to the point where now we get calls from the police department, the State Department, Red Cross. They're calling us to help families. And so that rescue thing it's growing and having greater influence, and to be able to help other people, I think it's something that we have to do. But then once we're doing it, we're like, wow, we get to reap the benefits of the reward of knowing these lives are being changed, and people are moving out of hotel rooms or out of their car and now have permanent places. Some of them now own businesses, and they're turning around, and they're helping other people. To me, there's just nothing better, and we get to be a part of that, and it's quite significant. And so just to hear a little bit about that is always good, and there's more. If you pay attention to like our social media feed, I know you guys put stuff out regularly and sharing stories. And you know, when you're a part of Salty Church, you are a part of this. And we're better together is one of our values. Rescue people rescue is one of our values. We get to be a part of something good, and it's just doing what Jesus said we're supposed to do. And so to share the stories is rewarding, but also, you know, some of you might be asking, well, how can I help, kind of a thing. And I want to make sure you have an answer to that question on a couple things. Number one, you know, as part of our church, as a ministry, when you give as a part of your worship, God, I trust you with my finances, part of that money helps to do things like this. And we want to make sure we maximize whatever dollars we have to making a difference. Part of that's rescuing people who are living in cars and hotels or more. Some of it's spiritual rescue. They're desperate. We had, Christy was talking about that the other day, a lady just, has God forgotten about me? I just need somebody to talk to. Which is, I shouldn't share the story, but she's living in Titusville. And she called a church. I need somebody to pray with me because I feel like God has forgotten me. And they're like, call Salty Church. They'll help you. I'm like, I don't know why. Some church in Titusville referred Salty Church to some lady who just needed some encouragement.
She never asked when she called us for any financial assistance.
No, she wasn't asking for money or a handout or anything. Just pray for me. Simple, but life-changing. It's amazing. So part of that, you know, financially, you know, whenever you give, it really helps to empower the ministry to make that happen. For those who own businesses and want to make corporate donations and all that, we have a fundraiser we do once a year. So September 9th, September 9th, we're doing our big corporate fundraiser. So for businesses who give to charity or so, we have the best run, most effective charity around. And so we want to encourage businesses to be a part of that. That's on September 9th. But then the last thing is, Jeff, you mentioned it, the Call Me When. We have that available as well. And so if you're watching online or if you're here in the room, you can go to salty.org, and at the top of our website, there's a tab, and it talks about Call Me When. Or you can take your phone out, and you can use the QR code with your camera. And the idea is, I don't have a lot to offer, but I can help with some things, right? Some people, whether you can sew, or you can pick up a couch, or you can buy a gift card, or you can, I talked to a lady the other day. It's like, I can drive somebody if they need to make it to an appointment. Some people can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had people that work on cars. We buy the parts, they'll fix the cars.
Construction,
absolutely.
Mechanics.
It's a big deal when people have just space, extra space, like
A
in that
room.
story, right? That has a single mom that can stay there for 4 weeks. Huge. So it's something as simple as a gift card, and something as incredible offer as a bed.
It's quite significant and it's quite open-ended. And so what happens is people like you might fill out that form. I don't have a lot to offer, but I can offer this. And it goes into our database. And then, for instance, I guess the mentors see that database.
Yes, they do. So when they're in their relationship with the families and they see a need that a volunteer can fill, we go to our database and they start calling people. Now, you're not signing your name in blood, so you can say, I'm not available this week.
I
so
can't
we'll
do
just
it right
go.
now.
Yeah, of
Call me
course.
next time.
Yeah. So you'll continue to call people, volunteers, until there's somebody that can help. And if you don't know, I am happy to talk to you about just what
Yeah.
your skills and your gifts are and how those can be just poured into families.
And one of the things that we always try to remind people, don't write down or enter, call me whenever. We'll call you every day.
Whenever and anything are not good words to use.
No, we want
No, no.
specific. What time,
Yes.
talent, treasure do you have? What's God given you that you're supposed to give away?
Yeah. Take a quick guess. How many people are on our database right now?
300 to 400?
Okay, it's 300 or 400 people on that list. If you want off the list, fine. Just tell us. Take me off the list. But if you want on that list, you may not get a call but once a year. But in that moment, if you can, then you help. Nobody can do everything. Everybody can do something. What is it you can do? And, so this is just an opportunity for you to connect and help be a part of the rescue ministry here at Salty Church. And if you never do that, that's okay. Not a big deal. You don't have, you're a part of Salty Church who helps to empower all of us and make it happen. That's fine. But I would say that biblically speaking, God has called us as disciples to make a difference in the world around us, to be salt, to be light. Jesus talked about that, to help the least of these. So if you don't help this and don't partner with us, that's fine, but you do something. So in fact, let me just leave you with that as we wrap up our time together, maybe our reflection question. Take a quick picture of that if you want. I'm going to change the slide because in our reflection question, just to have you sit with and to think through is like, in what ways are you able to help the least of these? And if it's not through this, that's fine. In the world that you're living in, there's people around you who have needs. What might you do to help somebody who has a need around you? And when you do, we talk about generosity changes everything. Generosity is your time, it's your talent, it's your treasure, it's all of that, right? As you're helping somebody else, you're doing in what God has called you to do. But the reward is so rich sometimes, knowing that what you did made a difference to one. So I want to just encourage you to reflect on that. And then once that reflection time is up, talk about it. If you're on one of our campuses or here in Ormond, talk amongst yourselves. That's fine. If you have questions, if you're online or you're new somewhere in Flagler, you can just call the rescue station and one of our volunteers will answer your phone and they'll talk you through it all. If you're here in Ormond, you can just hang out and talk with Jeff and Francis. They'll be glad to have you. So reflect on this, and then we'll wrap up our time. Yeah, one last thing is you always have access to the website right now. At the top of our website, it has that Call Me When tab. It won't stay there for multiple weeks, but it'll be there at least for this week. But if you wanted to take a picture, whether it's that QR code or have access to the website, because maybe you think of something later, or more importantly, there are other people in your circle, maybe people you know, neighbors, or people you work with, who may want to be a part of something as well. And we found that, especially with businesses and folks who, there are some folks who care nothing about Jesus, but they're good people and they want to make a difference. This is a way for them to be engaged in helping rescue. And as they do that with Salty Church, it has an influence on them. And then all of a sudden, the people providing help are impacted, and God will use that maybe even to draw them. So I'm going to encourage you to consider all of these things. If you got questions, Jeff and Francis will be back in the back right now. Go back there and hang out and talk to them. They'll tell you more. Ask them for some more stories. They'll do that as well. So with that said, this is week 1. Thank you for being here. And then next week, we're going to start adding to this 7 weeks total, summer stories. You guys have a great day. See you next time. Thank you.